Hi there, welcome back to the channel. This is Captain Scott from Freedom Fishery. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about a live rig or a live bait setup. Live bait is now available here in San Francisco Bay, which means that it's going to be a good halibut fishery go forward, especially in the summer months. So what we're going to do here is take some 20-pound test. We're using monofilament. You can use 25-pound test. Don't use fluorocarbon. We're going to cut off a little piece of there. Then what we're going to do is basically take a number 6 treble hook. So we're going to thread it through one time. And when we get to about there, we're going to basically pinch it. Then we're going to come with the tag end through the opposite end of the eye. We're going to pinch it. We're going to wet it a little bit. Usually we wrap about 6 or 7 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll go one more. Once you have it like this, what you'll want to do is you'll want to take the tag end, start to pull through. Keep it all straight. Then we're going to switch hands here. I'm going to continue to pinch basically the rolls that we've created on the shank. We're going to hold it and then push it all the way through. Tighten a little bit so you're going to get a good snell. Trim the tag. Now we're going to take a 1/0 mosquito hook here. I believe this is an owner. Same concept. We're going to come through the eyelet. So this is where you're going to want to vary your distance, usually depending on the size of your bait that you're getting. Usually baits 3 to 5 inches, sometimes 7 inches. We like to go a little bit bigger, so we'll do something like this. Hold it in this hand. We're going to grab the tag end. We're going to come back through the opposite end of the eye. You're going to pinch both of your lines on the shank. We'll wet it. Same concept, go around 7 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once we have that, we're basically going to start to pull the tag end through. Just keep an eye on what you're doing. Okay. When we get to about here, we're going to switch positions. We're still holding the line on the shank and we're going to pull it through. Once we pull it through, we're going to take both ends and then basically spread them. And what you're left with is a perfectly snelled stinger. So from here, what you're going to want to do is take a snap swivel, something like this. And we're basically just going to do a surgeon's loop or a loop knot, whatever you want to call it. You can go long, you can go short. We usually go a little bit longer than shoulder length, something similar to this. We don't like it too long. We like it to fish a little bit closer to the bottom. So once we're good here, we're basically going to take both ends like this. We're going to make a simple loop. We're going to then thread this part right through. We're going to hold it and we're basically just going to go like this. And what we've created is a little loop. And then we're just going to cut the tag end. Okay. So now this is basically your live rig setup. This goes through the nose of the anchovy. This little stinger goes in the back behind the dorsal fin. And then this right here attaches to a 3-way swivel. So here's your 3-way swivel. Attach one of this to this end, attach your main line to the other end, and then the third part is basically going to be your weight. So we're going to talk about that right now. On the weight side, you want to get 2 hefty duty snap swivels because obviously that weight's going to be bouncing. Here we're going to take some 20-pound test again. Honestly, you don't need to get a lighter pound test. It's not, your weights aren't really going to get stuck out here, at least in San Francisco Bay. So we're going to go through one end. We're going to do that same loop knot. So we're going to grab it, twist it, come right through the eye that we created, hold it in place, cinch it down. That's one end. We'll trim the tag end. And then what we're gonna do here is grab the other end. Here you can vary your length. So obviously the further distance you have, that weight's gonna be a little bit maybe suspended, and you're gonna have a little bit of stretch in your line. For us, we usually like to fish our weights because they're attaching to the three-way, something similar to this distance right there. So what we're gonna do is same thing, is we're gonna make a little loop. We're gonna feed snap swivel through. We're gonna cinch it down. Cut it. So now we've created our little rig for the weight. Here, live bait fishing, we're usually fishing anywhere from 8 to 16 ounces. Really depends on the current, how deep you're fishing. You know, early live bait, you're probably gonna be fishing with 8 ounce, 10 ounce, you know, even 12 ounce, just depending on your spread on the boat. This is what it looks like. You'll take this end and just attach it to the three-way, and then you're good to go. The next thing we're gonna talk about is control and speed. So obviously, we are gonna be using live bait primarily go forward. However, we also bring frozen bait, so it really depends. The goal is to basically drift anywhere between about 1 mile per hour up to 2.5. We found out that obviously if you're trolling a little too fast, you could just go right over the top of the halibut and then you won't have as much success. So what you want to get are something like these. These are basically drift socks. You could use maybe a bucket, but we have actually 2 different socks that we use. They're 2 different sizes. This red one's a really big one. We'll basically throw this behind the boat or attach it to one of the gunnels here, one of the cleats. So if the tide is really ripping and we're going, you know, greater than 3 miles per hour, we'll use something like this to slow us down, to get us back to that 2.5. If we're still going too fast, we'll actually take the other drift sock and throw it on the other side. This usually gets us into the strike zone. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. During slack tide, we always change our strategy. If we're going less than 1 mile per hour, we switch to frozen bait, and then we'll switch to troll. The reason why we do this is if you're going less than 1 mile an hour, you're not covering a whole lot of ground. So what we'll do is we'll pull up the socks. We'll basically take this exact same setup. We'll attach a frozen bait, and then we'll use magic thread around it, throw it over, and then we'll troll. We'll try different pockets. Once we locate a good grouping of halibut, when that tide picks up, we mark the spots. We'll switch back to live bait, and then we'll drift right over them. Hopefully then the current will be a little bit faster, and you would either use a sock or you won't use a sock. But that's a pretty good strategy to basically vary your technique depending on how much distance you're trying to control, where you're trying to locate fish, when the tide's working and when the tide's not working. That's about it. Hopefully you found this video very useful on your end. Go ahead and try these setups. Hopefully it works on your end, and then we wish you the best of luck. Tight lines.